from the COD-Z forums verified that Milo mentioned using Mob of the Dead ABC as the matrix. So we were not. So we were. We were. We were. So we were. God. What is up, Black Ops Zombies community? So recently I've been working with a very dedicated team composed of CertainPersonio and ShootinFish, Garrett and Matt, on a certain cipher on Mob of the Dead, the ADFGX cipher. We recently were interested in the other cipher that appeared on the map, so naturally the first thing we did was check Google, which led us to play the game's YouTube video on the cellmates' letters. They however did not explain how they got the answer. Thus we thought, hey, what if this actually has not been solved like the ADFGX was not solved? So we started trying to figure out where to start. Well, instead of going around the map to find the 4 letters, we actually had access to the textures thanks to Matt, and were able to work on much better looking texts. I believe we started with the Hill Cipher, as I think that was what was understood to be what was used to decipher the text. However, we actually had a little issue initially working with it and started switching to a different cipher when Pinnaz from the COD-Z forums verified that Milo mentioned using Mob of the Dead ABC as the matrix. So we were correct in assuming that. Alright, let's get into how to solve this thing. First, for the Hill Cipher, you need a matrix, and it just so happens that there is one on the Mob of the Dead loading screen. Now, since we are decrypting this, we need to take the inverse of the matrix. Now, I tried for a very, very long time with my friend Matt trying to find the inverse by hand, since originally when we tried it, we didn't get any results. However, I had at the time no knowledge of linear algebra and very limited in number theory. Thus, while I tried to calculate the inverse by hand, Matt and Garrett continued with an inverse matrix calculator online, which honestly was the better route to go. Anyways, in order to take the inverse of the matrix, you have to actually do some very complicated mathematics that I'm definitely not going to go over in this video. If you'd like for me to perform this by hand and upload the process and how to inverse a matrix, you can let me know. But I'm fairly sure that's not why you're here. So, continuing. After you find the inverse matrix, you find the matrix product of the square matrix, your key, and the ciphertext, your column vector. Your column vector is your ciphertext read down in columns. After you finish with this calculation, you then notice that there are going to be some very big numbers. So the next part of this process is to find what kind of alphabet you're working with. To do this, simply count up the number of unique letters that are used in the ciphertext. Now, sometimes, like the giant and the castle cipher, they don't include the entire alphabet. Thus, it's always a possibility this may not work, and you'll need to make an educated guess with how many letters are in your alphabet. When we did this, we found that we had 41 characters. Thus, we took the modulus of 41 since we wanted a number in between 0 and 40. Something Treyarch did that was not super nice was that they actually didn't use an alphabet that started with A. The alphabet is going to be on screen here, but what they did was they actually started with an underscore and then continued with an A. Garrett pointed out that a certain website actually had the same exact alphabet that Treyarch used, so it's a possibility that it was actually standard. Anyways, after this is completed, simply convert the numbers you get back to letters and your text will be revealed. All the text has already been found, but my team and I never heard of any explanations of how this was actually solved, and we were nervous that these ciphers actually weren't completed. So I hope you enjoyed this short explanation of the Hill Cipher and Mob of the Dead. If you guys liked what you saw, definitely subscribe for a weekly zombies content. I'm currently finalizing my first video in a long series where I go into detail about the wonder weapons in Call of Duty Zombies. I'm sorry for those who have been waiting for a while, as I've been talking about it on my Twitter for a long time now, but there was a lot of researching that went into explaining how the gun actually worked. Sadly, I don't have as much time as I want, as I'm double majoring in computer science and mathematics, and I'm working on several personal projects. So this took a lot longer than I wanted. Also, I'm going to have to split up this into 2 parts. The first part will be the history and physics of the gun, and the second part will be about how the gun actually works. So I hope you guys subscribe so you can keep up to date with that. Also, make sure to let me know what you thought of this cipher down below. Finally, if you'd like to see more cipher explanations, I'm working, like I said, on the ADFGX cipher, as well as the giant and the castle ciphers. So when we complete those, there will be a video on them as soon as I get time to sit down and talk about them. Finally, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Matt and Garrett. They are probably some of the most hardworking and dedicated people I've ever met. We've been steadily working on the ADFGX cipher for some time, and while we are all probably fairly discouraged, they haven't given up. Definitely a huge honor to be working with them. As always, all the information and sources of information will be down below. Until next time, catch you later. Alright, so Garrett was actually the one that completed solving this thing. I think either Garrett or I were sleeping, or something happened, but anyway, I remember... actually, I think Matt was sleeping, and then I was up and working on solving the inverse graph by myself, and then Garrett mentioned to me that he solved it. And that is it. That is it. I think that's good. That's good. So the first time we see these soul boxes, they are actually tubes, and they are not being filled with souls, but rather it seems they are being filled with zombie blood. Why do I say this? It honestly looks like blood. Now we can get into a debate about what a soul is, but I think it is safe to say that a soul does not take liquid form.